Avatar and Avengers, Endgame made history at the box office, breaking records and earning billions. But for every hit movie, there are dozens of flops. Big budget films that failed to bring in the audience. Some of the greatest films ever, like Citizen Kane, The Big Lebowski, Fight Club, and The Shawshank Redemption, started as box office failures. Over time, they found success and became classics, but not every movie gets a second chance. Hey there, welcome to the channel. Join me as we explore the jaw-dropping stories behind the biggest box office flops ever made. Battleship, $199 million. It flopped because it was a hard sell. It opened 2 weeks after The Avengers, and 1 week before Men in Black 3. Want to go see the movie based on that kids board game with pegs? Or we pay to see The Avengers instead. Sad noises. You sunk my suggestion. I personally didn't even bother with it. It looked like a ham-fisted attempt to cash in on a board game title that didn't have a real story behind it other than Iwu era fog of war. And then they hitched on a sci-fi premise because trends? I love science fiction, I love action movies, but this looked like a hot mess of CGI trash. Joker, folie à deux, $200 million. Doesn't surprise me. They went from a successful dark movie that people obviously loved to a musical with Lady Gaga. WB should have been happy walking away with $1 billion from the first movie, having blatantly borrowed from another film, slapped a Joker logo on it, and gotten away with it. But they couldn't resist going back for more. The problem? There's no Taxi Driver 2 to borrow from this time. So, you get what you deserve. Poor Joaquin Phoenix went through extreme weight loss again and was forced to perform even more dance numbers for this movie. If they had cut the musical scenes, because, you know, cringe, and changed the ending, the movie could have been much better. Strange World, $205 million. It seems like they were so proud of the world they created that they forgot they needed a story to match the visuals. It's like some kid dreamed up this world and concept 20 years ago in their third grade art class and made it all the way to Disney Animation. They were so close to making their dream come true, just needed solid dialogue and good characters. Instead, we got concept art brought to life, voiced by an algorithm focused on engagement and audience scores. It's kind of sad, really. The result? A $205 million loss. Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, $207 million. This movie was one of my top 3 favorites as a kid. The animation, the soundtrack, the story, it was peak. But I just rewatched it for the second time in 2 weeks, and I can confidently say this is a pretty weak film. As a kid, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, but as an adult, it's definitely a meh. That said, I'd bet Hollywood accounting is the real reason this movie lost $207 million. Maybe I'm wrong, but who knows? Cutthroat Island, $210 million. This film's failure put a stop to pirate movies for years. No wonder, it held the Guinness World Record for the worst box office bomb ever for a long time. I tried watching it a few days ago, just out of curiosity, since it's considered one of the biggest flops in cinema history. I wanted to see how bad it really was. Honestly, it's not terrible. The production value, cinematography, and sets are all great. The problem is the dialogue. It's just bad. Mortal Engines, $212 million. I can't stand Mortal Engines. The idea of a post-apocalyptic steampunk world where giant cities eat each other is silly but unique, with great character work, a believable romance, and even an undead cyborg assassin who's one of the best characters in the series. When I heard about the movie, especially with WETA Workshop doing the effects, I was hyped. But the 2018 reviews were mostly negative, and it bombed so hard that sequels were scrapped. The warning signs were there. In the trailer, Hester Shaw's disfiguring scar was reduced to a tiny mark on her cheek, already a bad sign. I finally watched it last year, and no wonder it failed. The studio changed so much there was no way it could have worked. The 13th Warrior, $236 million. I actually like the movie. It has great lines, some quotable moments, and adapts the source material in ways that work on screen, something that doesn't always happen. For example, in Eaters of the Dead, the narrator communicates in Latin with Herger and only learns bits of their language over time. That would have been clunky on screen, so it was replaced with the I listened scene, which is now a classic.
Where did you learn our language? I listened.
That said, some things were frustrating, like the anachronistic armor. The costumes were consistently off, same with Braveheart. They looked cheap and gave off a lazy, I don't care vibe. I can separate Hollywood Vikings from historical ones, but armor that's centuries off is just laughable. The Marvels, $237 million. The Marvels to me felt like Marvel saying, here are the next superheroes you'll like. But I just couldn't get invested. The writing didn't try hard enough. Captain Marvel's success probably owed more to its tie-ins with Infinity War and Endgame than its own merits. The plot was average and the protagonist uninspired. Worse, Captain Marvel's role in Endgame was so minor she could have been removed without much change. She was completely wasted there. Now we get the Marvels, and the flop was inevitable. The Lone Ranger, $246 million. I still can't believe someone thought putting $250 million into this movie was a good idea, but what do I know? I get that it was directed by the same guy behind Pirates of the Caribbean and had Johnny Depp attached. They must have thought that combo was an infinite money glitch, but it backfired big time. I remember people joking that Johnny Depp was just playing Jack Sparrow dressed up as Tano. LOL. John Carter, $265. Another Disney movie tops the list, John Carter. Honestly, it was a fun movie, but its marketing completely killed it. The title John Carter meant nothing if you didn't already know who he was. When I found out the original book was called A Princess of Mars, I was shocked. Why didn't they just go with that? It sounds so much cooler. This could have been another big franchise, especially with all the existing canon to build on. But the marketing and execution completely messed it up. In short, not a bad movie, just a victim of terrible promotion. And that's it. Which of these flops caught you off guard? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe for more amazing movie stories. See you on the next one.